Hello and welcome back to another video on the F1 Journal and to my Drivers' Championship predictions for the 2022 F1 season. And yeah, we're just a few days away from the season. I can't wait now. And yeah, this season looks one of the most opening years following testing. I've done my Constructors' Championship prediction, find out yesterday, but let's get straight into the drivers. Starting off at the back end, and yeah, I'm going to go for Nicholas Latifi. And yeah, for me, I don't think there's any clear last team from testing, but if there was one, I'd probably say Williams. And yeah, for me, Latifi's probably the weaker out of those two drivers, so it makes sense for them to be at the bottom. I don't think Latifi will be like Mazepin last year, for example, just finishing 30 seconds behind or whatever every race weekend, and I still expect him to probably score points. But yeah, I just feel like out of all the lower end runners, he'll pick up the least amount of points. Moving on to 19th, and that is Guan Yu Zhou, or Zhou Guan Yu, now they're calling him, in the Alfa Romeo. And yeah, for me, I'd say Zhou's got a bit of undeserved criticism. Yes, he probably doesn't deserve to be an F1 over the likes of Oscar Piastri, but he's not a bad driver at all. Came third in F2 last year, but for him going up against a teammate of Valkyrie Bottas, his calibre, it will be tough for him, especially in the first few races. He needs to adapt quickly, but from what we saw in testing, that Alfa Romeo has some serious pace and he will have the opportunity to score some points. Moving on then to 18th, and I've gone for Mick Schumacher, and yeah, for me the Haas battle is really interesting, because obviously last year we just didn't get a clear read of exactly where Haas were due to Mick Schumacher not having a competitive teammate and that car just being so awful. So yeah, in what looks like a better car following testing and those glory runs, it'll be interesting to see where he fits in. And yeah, I think he may just fall slightly short of Kevin Magnussen, but it will be close. Moving on then to 17th, and that's going to be Alex Albon. And yeah, for me, this is an interesting one. Alex Albon, will we see a revitalised kind of career like we saw with Pierre Gasly, or will it kind of just be a disappointing season like his last season at Red Bull? For me though, coming in at Williams, a team where he probably will be lead driver, is an opportunity for him to excel. And yeah, for me, he may take him a couple of races to get back into it, but for me, I think he will be able to beat Latifi fairly comfortably over the course of the season, like we saw in Danton F2, but the Williams car may let him down. Moving into 16th, and I've gone for the comeback king, Kevin Magnussen. Yeah, I still can't believe he's back, and I'm so happy he's back. I didn't do a video for it, but yeah, I'm so happy he's back. For me, definitely the right choice. It just makes sense. And for me, yeah, I think he'll do a really good job. It may take him a couple of races just to get back into the swing of things in F1, like we said about Albon, even more so used to lack of preparation time and a year away from the paddock, but I think he will get used to it, and I think, to be honest, he could end up just being the better of the Haas drivers. It'll be close, but I think he will be the better of them. Yeah, I just think he's so underrated. Moving on then to number 15, and that is Valkyrie Bottas for Alfa Romeo. And yeah, for me, I'm really looking forward to seeing Bottas this year. I've said for years, going up against Hamilton has probably made him one of the most underrated drivers on the grid, because obviously he's had, probably the greatest ever, or one of, as his teammate. And for me, Bottas really is a top 5, if not 10 driver on the grid. And yeah, I think he'll really show it this year. Against the rookie teammate, I do think he'll destroy Guan Yu Zhou. And yeah, have the Alpha fighting with like the Astons example. And yeah, kicking point, P14, Lance Stroll. Yeah, for me, the whole midfield group just seems tightly packed. I think maybe we may see the bottom 3 teams maybe just slightly behind again this year. But yeah, I think Lance Stroll in 14th. He'll be in the mix with all the others. It's just about another continual improvement. He wasn't too far off Vettel at all last year, and yeah, he'll be hoping to get closer and closer and closer. But yeah, I think with teams behind more competitive, he will kind of end up in no man's land this year between those two greats. Moving in then to the P13, and that is Yuki Sonoda. And for me, I'm honestly really excited to see what Yuki can do this year. Obviously, we all know his struggles last year. They were well documented, but he was coming good before, around the end of the season with that P4 in Abu Dhabi. I'm really hoping he can kick on. I'm not expecting him to be on Pierre Gasly's pace or whatever, but for me, I think the AlphaTauri did look quite good in testing in Bahrain. I'm hoping he can kick on, be closer, and yeah, I think he'll really get in that battle with the likes of Alpine and Aston Martin. Moving on then to number 12, and that is Esteban Ocon. And yeah, for me, Ocon's a really interesting one. For me, he had a better season than I expected. I thought he'd probably get beat quite easily by Fernando Alonso, but it was quite a competitive rivalry. And yeah, once again, he'll be looking to push on with that and really competing with Alonso and starting to beat him a bit more. But yeah, I think once again, like I say, it'll be tightly contested around that group. And I just feel like Ocon maybe he just won't have the experience of the likes of Sebastian Vettel in 11th place at lower lines beating. But yeah, like I'm saying, Vettel in 11th place. New Aston Martin. I mean, like, there was race runs that said they didn't look too good, but there was some pace in it. I don't think it looked too bad, to be honest. And I think really the whole midfield will kind of be in a similar state to what we saw last season. I think Vettel in 11th. You do feel like he really does need to rediscover his best form though this year, and I think this is a great opportunity with the new rules. Moving on then to number 10, it's L Plan. I'm not quite sure if L Plan features a 10th place finish, but we'll say it's Fernando Alonso. He's wanted these regulations for so long, and I hope that Alpine would be a top team. It doesn't quite seem to have been the case, but solid midfield team. We saw on the last day of testing the glory runs. Alonso, maybe he can still get in there. It's unlikely, but maybe it's better than we're giving it credit for. It will be interesting for me, but for me, I think Alonso will kind of be in a similar position as last year. Moving on then to 9th place, and that is Pierre Gasly. The AlphaTauri, for me, I think it was kind of gone under the radar. I think it looks a pretty decent car in testing. Obviously, stolen parts from the Red Bull, which looked mightily impressive. I think he'll come into this one. Looking for a move to the senior team potentially, we'll say, full of confidence after the back of the last few seasons. I think he'll definitely be the best in the midfield pack. Moving on then to a team who I think will see slightly above the midfield, and that is Daniel Ricciardo in 8th place. Obviously his preparations for the season, missing the second Bahrain test, have been severely hampered, and hopefully he can compete in Bahrain due to the positive COVID test. But for Ricciardo, he needs a decent season. We've seen like McLaren, they probably have their eyes on Pato O'Ward, even Colton Herta now, to maybe replace him. So Ricciardo needs a good season. And for me, I think he will push Norris a lot closer. Now he's got used to McLaren, hopefully the new regs will kind of be a leveler out. Moving on then to number 7, that is Lando Norris. And for Norris, it's kind of just about building on last season. We've seen several times with Norris, he has a really great start to the season and kind of tails off. You could kind of say it's similar last year, some through mistakes and some through no fault of his own. But hopefully he can just keep it going this season and be close to the top 3 teams, because it does seem like McLaren is in a bit of its own. But if he can keep the car reliable, which some doubts after testing, I think Norris can be right up there with the likes of Sergio Perez, who I've gone in 6th. Sergio Perez, I mean, like, for me, the Red Bull looked probably the best car in testing. He'd probably have to be up there. But I just think it will be so close between the top 3 teams. And to be honest, Perez is just probably the weakest driver in there for me, and that's why I have him finishing 6th. It could be higher if the Red Bull's better than I expected, maybe quicker than the other 2 cars. But at the moment I'd say Perez is probably the weakest driver, which I've gone for P6. Moving on then to P5, and that is George Russell in the Mercedes. And Russell, it's a hard one to call, because obviously he hasn't had the best teammates over his time at Williams, but we've seen multiple occasions, Spa last year, even the race didn't happen, Sakir before it all went wrong, that he has got some serious talent. I really can't wait to see him prove it. I think it'll be a slow start, which may cost him this season, but by the end of the season he'll be on pace, maybe not on pace, but very close to Lewis Hamilton. I think the slow start might cost him. Moving on then to P4, and that is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. And Sainz is a really interesting one. Obviously beat Leclerc last year in an incredible first season for Ferrari, and I expect a contract extension to be imminent, really. It'll be interesting. Can he maintain it this year, or will Leclerc slightly get ahead? Because obviously Leclerc did have a fair share of the bad luck. I think Leclerc will be slightly ahead, but I think it will be still quite tight between the pair of them, because Sainz is just such a good driver, and for me he's so underrated. I think he'll be up there. Moving on then to 3rd position, and this may be a surprise for people, and I'm going to say Max Verstappen. I had some real deliberation between the top 3. I kept going back and forwards, I went for Max Verstappen in 3rd. The Red Bull looked mightily impressive, but I have seen multiple sources saying it's a glory run. Ferrari looked very impressive. You can never rule Mercedes out. I just feel like maybe Red Bull will drop Mock as the season progresses. He may start off strong and then fall away, but something feels like the other 2 may just have slightly better cars over the course of the season. Moving on then to number 2, and I've gone for Charles Leclerc. The Monegas, the Ferrari just looked really impressive in testing, and I think he'll be right up there this season. It does finally look like Ferrari's back at the sharp end. So yeah, he'll be coming into this one super confident. But yeah, first time in a title fight potentially may cost him, bit of inexperience. He needs to prevent some crashes. We've seen some stupid crashes recently, so yeah, he does need to prevent those sorts of things. But for me, I think he'll have a brilliant season, be Ferrari's lead driver and definitely contend for the title. But winning his 8th world title, I'm going to go for Lewis Hamilton. Now I know some of you may be surprised after we saw a disappointing show from Mercedes in Bahrain testing, but for me it's for Mercedes. You can never rule them out. I mean, like, I'm sure we'll come to Bahrain this weekend and suddenly they'll be fastest, and it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I don't think that'll be the case. I think Mercedes maybe will start off slower, but you know, we've seen several times before Mercedes can have a slow start to the season, bring in some new parts and just be brilliant and blow everything away. And I've kind of got a feeling a similar thing will happen this year, and it will lead to Lewis Hamilton winning the title. But anyway guys, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching, and to like, share, subscribe, let your thoughts, comments down below. If you want to link in the description for daily F1 news, subscribe to our channel and screen button, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.